Good evening and welcome to tonight's council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First thing I'm going to ask for is agenda changes.
Staff have no agenda changes to present, so unless there's something from the governing body.
Okay, I'd like to add an item to the agenda under new business. We'll call it item 5, and we're going to discuss an engine braking ordinance for Halstead. Anything else from the council?
Nope.
Okay, I'll move on. We're going to open public forum. If there's anybody that's not on the agenda that wishes to address the council, please come forward to the podium and give your name and address and why you're here. Is there anybody wishing to do that this evening?
My name is Eric Armfield. We live at 610 Chestnut. And had some questions concerning how we got to where we're at with the whole gas situation. I want to know at what point was the decision made not to give the residents of the town a choice whether to, we had no idea what the price increase was. Had most of us known, a lot of us would have found other methods of heat. Personally, we would have went either to our garage and camped out in there with a fire, went to a hotel. Lots of cheaper options than paying, I don't even know what it was, 10, 12, 14 times the normal rate. There was zero transparency on part of the city.
Well, Ethan, would you like to address this? As far as transparency, we did put the warning out as early as we knew about it through our social media and our website.
Said there will be an increase, not it's going to go from an average of $6.50 to.
I believe we said it would be possibly 10 to 20 times what your normal bill would be.
How many days into that price increase were we when that information was made public?
Ethan?
The city, I'd have to look at the presentation. We basically put out information on conservation the day before prices began to increase because we had received notification from our suppliers that demand was expected to increase with the 5 straight days of -0 temperatures. Then going into that weekend, as prices started to raise, they first only went up about 3 times the normal. So as the city has an average thing, that shouldn't have spiked. So we did not put out price information at that point. By late Saturday, when we had got confirmation that prices were in the over 10 to going when they hit 300, 100 times our normal price to 200 times our normal price by that Tuesday, that information we pushed out.
So what is the method the city relies on to get that information to the public? I mean, there's Facebook, but how many people in town don't have Facebook? We don't have a text alert system. Was there phone calls that went out? Was there a...
Well, we couldn't very well call 2,000 different people. People have questioned. I mean, it wasn't any big secret. And believe me, we all got hit with the same bill.
I understand that.
When that happened, it was a matter of hours. There were hours we didn't even know if we were going to have gas for the city of Halstead.
I understand.
Literally.
Lots of people face that.
Everyone I knew, knew it. What do you do?
I've also got friends in other towns, Wichita, Derby, other places who didn't see any increase. So why is that impacting towns such as Halstead and Burton, but not Bentley, Mays, Wichita, Derby, other places
You want to
like
speak to that one, Ethan? We had that discussion.
Those cities, have, most of them are probably on Kansas gas service. Kansas gas service was also impacted. The big difference there is going to be 1, economy of scale, 2, oversight of Kansas Corporation Commission. So how they have to go about kind of getting that on their balance sheet and then recovering. But rest assured, when Kansas Gas Service is saying things of they're going to recover the costs, they're going to do that in terms of rate increases. Most likely, they will increase rates over a period of time. But though they have not put anything out as far as what that's going to look like, and by the virtue of them being an investor-owned utility, that's a very different process than a city-owned utility.
So we use Black Hills Energy here.
Black Hills is our last supplier.
Cause that's who, a couple people in Wichita who I talked to have, and they saw no rate increase, so.
They will.
They will, they will.
They will,
They will.
yeah.
Okay, so is the city taking any legal action?
Through KMGA, our coffers aren't big enough to hire the team of attorneys it's gonna take on this issue. So we're relying on KMGA and their attorneys, and KMGA is the pool of, what, 40 cities, Ethan?
Yeah, almost 50.
That, almost 50 cities that we're part of, and that's how we go to market to get our gas, is we all combine together to utilize that buying power of those almost 50 cities. And so they're gonna be utilizing their legal staff to pursue this, because frankly, we don't have enough budget to go after somebody as big as the supplier that's supplying gas to us.
Best advice I could give is every citizen of Halstead needs to contact our state representatives and state how they feel. They feel like they got ripped off by the gas companies. We totally agree.
Are you referring to
They
Stephen
need,
Owens?
they need to pursue it on our behalf.
Even-
We have.
Even higher than that, right,
He
your
said to
senator?
contact you guys, so.
You know, the basic problem is this: there's no guardrails in place to keep this from happening again. So until somebody pushes legislation, we could be facing this same issue next year.
Yeah, that's what we all want to avoid.
Absolutely.
I don't think anybody wants that.
And that's why we're looking into certain things, is what can we do from a long-term strategy in order to keep this from happening again, right? Because one of the things with this, it's not like we can take other city funds and pump into the gas fund to be able to pay everything.
Right.
Legally, we can't do that,
It's
right?
appropriation of funds.
Yep, so we've got to make sure that whatever we've got in there, and a lot of what we've paid out of there, I think it was like $85,000 is what we had to come up with on the spur of the moment, just to be able to continue to supply gas to the
Yeah,
city.
a lot of people don't realize on that Wednesday after President's Day, the supplier put forth a collateral call that the members of KMGA had to meet to guarantee the gas would stay on. That was $1 million cash payment. Our portion of that for Halstead was what, $70,000, Ethan?
Yeah, 80
So,
almost.
or 80,000. And, you know, at that point, we were scrambling to make decisions on a humanitarian basis to make sure we keep the gas flowing to the community.
I get that.
So,
We could have said, shut off the gas.
No,
which would have put us at liability for a lot of other problems.
I guess what a lot of people have said or voiced concern over is, had we been given more up-to-date information somehow, like, hey, it's 10 times, it's 20 times, it's 30 times, a lot of people would have chosen to not keep their heat set at 60, 65, 70.
The problem, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Oh, you're
interrupt you.
fine, go ahead.
The problem is that when the numbers and all were coming in to staff was updating as quickly as possible, right? So when we buy gas for it's an average cost over the year of what we're going to consume,
Yeah.
right?
We were, one of the reasons, like, gas tipped off at 622, and the average price for those 6 days is in the several hundreds. The reason we're only seeing $102 as our final price is because of the mix of how the city buys gas. So we did get a certain amount of gas on prefix contracts that were entered into 6 months in advance, but because the winter storm was so severe, even cities were having like fixed price deals, that were being pulled out because of force majeure, basically, of the gas supplier saying, we didn't plan for this either, we can't honor. So unfortunately, it was so cold and the demand was so great, even in the region, everybody was driven to those daily indexes disproportionately more so than we would have been.
And when we buy gas, we have to buy gas in the summer, right? When it's at its lowest rate at that point. And then when you have winters like this occur, nobody expected it, right? So as soon as the information was coming into us, we were trying to get it out as best as possible. We can't call, like they said, we can't call 2,000 people. Only thing we can do is put it out into the media like we did with regards to social media.
It's very brief.
It's very brief, but it happened that quickly.
Our contracted gas for the month of February had ran out that Friday before President's Day weekend because of the cold temperatures.
But we're charged by our own usage, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
And that's the fairest way to do it. A lot of the cities came out with a surcharge or a meter charge.
right,
And it's across everybody.
but as being charged per unit, had we known, some of us, not everybody, but some people, like I said, if I'd have known, hey, this hour or last hour or 3 hours ago, it went up 30 times, I'd have went, bloop, let's go to the garage. Do just enough to keep the pipes from freezing, but people weren't given that choice. That's what I mean, by the time we knew, hey, this is where it went, it was too late, damage was done.
Well,
That's
and
where a lot of
even,
people are frustrated.
Things happen.
even if you would have turned your thermostat down on that one day, it probably wouldn't have made that big of a difference because that's averaged across the month.
But it's still per unit used, right? So I would have used less units, not running 24/7.
You would run less units, but it's,
Well, at $100 a pop, that adds up pretty quick. If
It
I use
does.
half the units, that's 600, not 1,200.
my position on it is probably still cheaper than a plumbing bill to fix all your plumbing in your house.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to turn it off, but you can certainly turn
I
it
mean,
on.
I've got two houses I'm paying bills on, and one of them I probably could have blown it down and shut it off, but I didn't, so I had to pay to keep it from freezing up.
I'm just saying, a lot of people are upset about the lack of current communication.
Well,
And
we
there
were
are ways
upset
to
about
do
the
that.
pricing too.
I mean, we have email, text, Facebook. The school uses a call system when, school's canceled, the phone rings and it's automated message calling people, mass texting people. I mean,
Well, and those are great hindsight ideas. We've never faced
well, I mean,
anything
we're
like
also
this
thinking
before.
forward, aren't we? Trying to also
Well,
plan.
yeah, so maybe that's something we look at in the
Well, we're-
future for other issues.
Nobody wants this to happen again, right? I know.
Well, we hope it never does, but
You know,
yeah.
frankly, we appreciate what you're saying, and those are things that will be looked at, things that we may need to do, figure out how we're going to do it, should it ever happen again. So thank you for putting it out there.
You know, rest assured, we can't afford to, the city of Halstead can't afford to cover everybody's bill. As Wichita, they're not gonna be able to cover that bill. They're gonna get that money from their customers. Those people will pay.
Somehow or another, they'll get it in a rate increase, and they'll end up paying probably more for their gas in the long run.
I guess one last question was, say a class action suit or whatever kind of litigation that goes on, if they get held and like the gas companies get a penalty, how is that? Is there any thought yet on how that's going to be?
There won't be any refunds, we'll put it in the coffers.
You know, and that's something that we had discussed here too, right? So if there is money that comes back, it will go to offset the bills.
If we see it, and that's a big question.
Yeah, well, it
We're
could take
not really counting on it, but if we do, it would probably come back to you in the form of a credit on your gas bill. And that would be proportionate to what your bill was.
And that would be, that's yet to be determined.
That's years
And that
away,
can
I'm
take
sure.
years.
Yeah,
I mean,
years.
this isn't something that's gonna get fixed in a month or two.
No, that's what the rep said too. He said it'll take years
It'll take years to get this.
to get through the courts because they're slow for whatever reason, so.
Well, and I think there was other things going on during this particular time that they're gonna uncover with litigation too. And it's gonna be interesting.
Write your state representatives and legislatures, let them know what you think.
Yep. Well, we
And the
have that,
federal
so.
ones as well.
And one thing that I will say with regarding this governing body is that we don't just have ourselves to look at, we have what impacts you guys to look at too, right? And there was a lot of discussion that we've had regarding this matter, many meetings that we've had regarding this matter, and we had to try to figure out what's the best option for every citizen in this town.
This guy didn't sleep for 2 weeks.
And that was one of the hardest things, I think, as being on this governing body that I've ever had to be a part of, because it affects so many people's lives, right? You've got low-income folks that still has to pay their bills, so how do we accommodate that,
Fixed
right?
income, Social
Absolutely,
Security.
Well,
absolutely.
and that's one of the reasons we sent the bills out as they were, because if you were eligible and could seek assistance, it's kind of hard to seek that assistance without that bill.
Right.
Yeah, so that's why we set up the payment plans that they were, right? We went to the minimum that we could go with still being able to pay back the money that we had to borrow in order to offset the cost of this,
I'm
right?
not as much worried
So-
about the payment plan right now.
So it's there, right? We did take all of that to heart when we were trying to make these decisions. Was there some things that we could probably do better? Yeah, but we've never been in this situation before, right? So hindsight's 2020. We didn't realize that we, really needed to react a little faster. I thought we reacted pretty fast with it, but there's some things that we can always do better in the event that it happens again.
And it happened very quickly.
I would definitely stress looking at alternate or more efficient ways of communication in the
Well,
future.
that's a really good,
I think
the
the
systems,
number
text
one-
alerts would be a good way to go. If somebody wants to partake of it, maybe they come in here and register, get on the list, and maybe we could, with a button, we can text alert everybody.
And you could do that for not just gas.
Oh,
stuff.
whatever.
Doing it for everything.
And that's some of the things that we can look at as we're starting to upgrade some of the systems that we've got here, at the city, because we've got a lot of old antiquated systems that, we've got to get changed out, that are just not supported anymore. And this could be one of those options that we throw in there as well, too.
That was the
I'll
number one.
drive that point home one more step. We're on the council. We know what was transpiring as close as we could. I still had an $1,800 gas bill.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Yeah, mine's
we
19.
couldn't react
I know,
fast.
we're all in the same boat, so.
Yeah.
There just wasn't time.
I know a lot of people, the most common gripe I've heard from just talking to people was the communication.
Yeah.
So
And we can do better.
just keep that in mind.
No, thank you for your time. We
Was
appreciate
it
it.
Aaron? Was it Aaron?
Eric?
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anybody else wishing to address the council? Anybody?
I think we answered everybody's
I
questions.
think a lot of questions got answered right then.
Well, I want to say thank you to all you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for being
Absolutely.
here.
I enjoy coming into a council meeting and actually seeing citizens in here. Right? It just shows the involvement and all, and the care. So I really appreciate you guys showing up. Really do.
Hey, when things are really good, come back and tell us thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a huge impact on the city, this natural gas thing, and, it was out of our control. The suppliers are the ones that drove the price up, and we don't like it either, and we hope everybody is getting the message out to the legislators and the state representatives to continue to drive this as an issue, so at least maybe we get some kind of legislation in place so it don't happen again. And we are looking at other alternative methods in case we don't see that legislation, and we'll be talking about that in the future perhaps. So if nobody else wants to address the council right now, I'll close the public forum, and I'm gonna move on and ask for the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda for April 2021 as presented.
Second.
Have the motion and the second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously. And we've got one item under unfinished business tonight, and that's a public hearing on a distressed property at 322 Harvey. I'd like to open that public hearing now, and I believe that there is representation here. Yes, there he is.
I represent the lien holder on the property. I've been to a couple of these meetings. Blair Geesey, I'm in from Wichita. Spoken with Mr. Stebbins pretty consistently throughout this process. I do believe he is doing the best he can to get the property sold. My understanding is there was a delay on the banking side to get the closing documents ready to go. They are closing, as I'm told, this morning. Was that this morning we were emailing Ethan? I believe it was.
Yes.
This morning, closing's Thursday, April 15th. I expect that to go as planned. Up to this date, Mr. Stebbins has given me kind of indefinite days as far as when he expects the property to close. That changed this morning, and he sounded like everything's ready to go. It's just a matter of getting all the parties in the same room, which is expected to happen on the 15th. I think it's in everyone's best interest if Mr. Stebbins can sell the property and get his mortgage paid off and get the new owner in place so he can do what he needs to the property on your end. Unless there's other questions, I was just here to provide an update and encourage the council to give him one more extension here so we can get this deal done.
I think I'm on board with giving him one more extension, but that's it. I'm done. Just my thoughts. I mean, we've extended this long enough and given plenty of opportunities.
Till next meeting.
Yeah, till next meeting.
I would say after that, we start imposing a daily penalty on it.
Need to do something.
Well, let's hope he makes his closing. You said April 15th?
Thursday, yep.
Thursday.
Brad, do we need a motion of any kind?
Just to extend the hearing.
Right. If there's no other discussion, I'd make a motion to extend the hearing until next council meeting,
Second.
26th.
26th.
Have the motion and the second to extend this, public hearing to April 26th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That will be extended and it'll be on our next agenda.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to new business, and first item under new business, which is some old business, is discussion of 204 Main, and Ethan has some new information to present to us this evening on that.
Thank you. You have the handouts there. The first two, or the top one, that is an estimate for work as contained in the MKAC plan that the city paid for. That's for building demolition and then the new footings, because that's what the plans call for.
Can you reference the document?
Which is the first one?
Sorry,
This one, guys.
the April 9th Commerce, not the email.
Not the email.
Building demo for 204.
Okay,
That.
Which one?
Sorry, Commerce
here,
Construction
Ed.
says RE building demo for 204 Main.
And that's to completely demo it and then take care of the footings?
Yeah, that's basically a complete demo and then the site work as far as doing the CMU and brick wall, structural stud framing, clips and sheathing, and metal wall panels and the coping cap. So that's everything that MKEC covered in that last plans they put for the building. As MKEC noted, the city would not have to engage that work as one complete project. The city could option, phase it, like do demo. But you're gonna wanna turn around pretty quick on getting those interior, which are now exterior walls addressed as soon as possible for the neighboring property owners. So you have the price there. You'll note, again, these are just kind of rough estimates. We didn't sit down and go over these in great detail with the contractor. So this price does have sales tax and stuff included, which would obviously be adjusted for if the city were to enter into a contract. The other two are just updated bids that you guys previously saw at a council work session. And that's one's for the masonry repairs, which is essentially the facade repair. And then the other one is for the roof repair, or basically redoing the roof for the building. The email to you shows, and I'll note that, again, Commerce did bid that as just one project, but they kind of gave a rough breakdown of how much of that 269, 435 price tag was covered in the demo work that would be on site versus the footings and exterior walls. But if the city did pursue those as separate projects, they wouldn't honor those prices. And then you have, it's about a year old, at this point, a little over a year now. And that was just a estimate bid sheet, that we got from a demo company that had done previous, older structures in downtown areas of their cost to just demo. They're not gonna do any weather coating or anything like that, so. And that, again, was an estimate kind of based on, that does not include the fact, for those of you that have been in the building, there's still a large amount of junk, that is left in there, that would need to be out, so I'm sure that price actually would come up with the actual conditions.
It seems like a dramatic difference between
Yeah.
the demo price that we're getting from, what is it, Commerce?
And that demo, again, that was not, this didn't have plans or anything, that's just his based on square footage and work he had done previously, so.
so if he were to look
It's
at,
not a valid bid.
right, if you were to look at MKC's study, his bid would definitely change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was, when he submitted that, it's one of the reasons why we actually commissioned the MKC, because we were getting, even on the demo side, some pretty good swings, so. But that, I more included this to just say that there is the possibility that, if the city were to break this out, these are not necessarily hard set costs. It would be in our interest to bid, most likely this work out, depending. But this is one company, so it kind of gives you a base rate as far as labor costs or things of that nature to compare. If you add the two, it's about 40 to 50 if you adjust for the sales tax. It would be cheaper to do both the facade and the roof repair, as kind of noted in the agenda memo. The unfortunate reality with a building is we don't know that fixing the roof and the facade is the end of what needs to be done.
That doesn't address the mold and issues inside the building.
Which are huge numbers in themselves, huge numbers.
Or that north wall that could potentially have problems.
And part of this, 269,000, correct me if I'm wrong, Ethan, you know, that's a big number, but there may be work involved in MKEC's plan that may not have to be done. We may not need to set new footings, you know, it may be in good enough shape, but we won't know until we go in and demo the building.
So this is like worst case.
Yeah, this would be
Really worst case.
to
Worst case, $250,000.
to the engineered specifications that MKC came up with, but that was one of Mr. Redford's points, was really until you get into it, that would answer. So their plans called for footings, depending on, you know, the overall conditions as they begin to expose the walls and that. I mean, it's possible there might be more needed, there's possible, I mean, you just,
here's
it's like
the-
remodeling a house. You don't know until you start to pull sheetrock out what's behind.
So we're looking at 269 for the demo, and, I mean, for the repair. And then if we repair that, then we're looking in, what's that?
That's demo.
That's demo.
Yeah, right,
That's a demo and fixing the new exterior
right.
walls. then.
But then we're, you know, if we keep that building, it's just gonna keep going on and on. The mold remediation at the church was, by itself, was $30,000, and this one over here is even worse.
And that's been a couple years ago.
Yeah, this is way worse than that church.
You know, I've been looking at this and thinking about it, and I think my sense of direction would be to stay with demolition of the building, save that front facade to make it look like part of Main Street, turn that into a dining area. We don't have to, I mean, we're kind of tight on funding with everything that's happened on COVID and on the gas thing. You know, we could be a year away, you know, from finishing the flooring and whatever, but we need to get those walls taken down before potentially one falls and more damage on the adjoining building to the south.
Coming into a wet season.
Yep.
And you know, we were after the owners of that property hard and heavy for a long time. And now we're the owners of that building, and I don't see where we're any different than the previous owner. We need to make the repairs to it, and I would like to see all the numbers back and started repairs. What was the contractor's time? Did you talk to him about when he could possibly start on it?
No, because we just presented this as a price point to try and help illuminate a course of action. So we didn't actually get into how soon, you know,
He might be 60 days out.
yeah.
Are there other
what I was
contractors
about to
that we
ask.
could approach?
Oh, yeah, I mean, if demo's the
comparative
way the
bids?
city wants to do, I mean, just, again, this is one, and Commerce is very highly recommended, and even from the engineer standpoint or other contractors we've had come look at the building, their name comes up consistently as this being in kind of their bailiwick. But that doesn't mean there's not, again, other people that just specialize in demo. It's just getting that scope of work and then knowing, hey, for sure, this is something the city is gonna pull the trigger on, not, you know.
Right.
Because I know this seems like an ongoing, but the city being in the driver's seat of this as far as being able to decide the final fate of that has only actually been a year. We didn't get the building transferred over to us until the beginning of 2020. So all that 3 years before, with fixing the facade and all that, that was all the previous owner. And the city working and trying to respect those private property rights as much as we could, so.
How long would it take us to get a couple more contractors' bids? Could we have them by the next council meeting?
We can certainly try.
That would be a possibility.
I'd like to see if we can't get that cost down a little bit, but I also don't want to sacrifice quality either.
I think we need to fast track this as soon as we can, but we still
I
need
think
more
what
information.
I really think what Ethan's looking for tonight is a decision from the council on which direction we're going to go.
I think we all want it demoed and then the walls fixed.
Demo.
And then let's figure out what we're gonna do with the space after that, because right now we don't have the funds to do anything with the space, except for getting it demoed.
So I think if somebody would make the motion to move in that direction, and I think we should put this out to bid for some other contractors. Would that sound reasonable, guys?
Yes.
I'd make a motion to go out to
I would,
as many
because you're
additional
looking at authorizing
contractors as we can to
expenditure
look
at
into
some
the
point.
demolition prices of this building.
I'll second it.
Who made the motion, sorry?
Ted did.
So would you like that motion to include that the direction of this council is going to be to raise that property and go out
Well,
for
I
more
just said
bids? Okay.
demolition.
Wanted to make sure it was clear. And who
Muffled.
had the second?
I had the
Mike
second.
did.
Mike did.
Have the motion and the second to, raise 204 North Main and to gather more bids before we award that contract. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
One other thing to that, to get these bids in here within the next 30 days so a decision can be made within the next 30 days.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have them by next council meeting, but that might be unreasonable.
Second still stands.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. That motion carries unanimous. Now we'll move on to the next item, which is a discussion of memorandum of understanding with the city of Sedgwick. I believe this is regarding their wastewater operator, and Ethan will clue us in on that.
Yeah, a year ago, we entered into a memorandum of understanding to allow the wastewater certification of one of our operators to basically be used by the city of Sedgwick for operation of their plant. With COVID, a lot of the classes and trainings were not available. We did build in the ability for the MOU to be extended. Visited with Sedgwick's administrator. They're still planning to continue pursuing their staff, getting certified. Talked to Pat and Sean. It's not really detrimentally affecting us or causing too much hardship or involving a lot of time. So we're okay with continuing this. And rather than do just 6 weeks, we've figured through the end of the year. And then we'll revisit at that point if they still can't find an operator or get one trained. And this MOU does see the city reimbursed for any time spent on the city of Sedgwick's work, so.
Well, if there's no discussion or questions, I'd make a motion to extend the wastewater operation memorandum of understanding with the city of Sedgwick until December 31st, 2021, or until canceled by the city of Sedgwick.
Second.
Okay, we have the motion and the second on the floor to extend this agreement with city of Sedgwick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That carries unanimously. Next item is consideration of public health appointments, and we'll give that to Ethan. I think Denise and I are gonna get reassigned.
Essentially, we do this every April. It's kind of housekeeping. But because our code does say that the two members that will be put on the public health board cannot vote for themselves, we have to put it as an action item as instead of the consent agenda. But essentially, it reappoints Dr. Detweiler as the chief health officer, and then Mayor Travis and Councilmember Clausen as the Board of Health, which they would serve on with Dr. Detweiler in the event that is needed for any public health needs in the city of Halstead.
Well, if there's no further discussion, I'd make a motion to appoint Dr. Doyle Detweiler as city health officer for the city of Halstead and Denise Clausen and Dennis Travis as representatives to the Board of Health for a term of 1 year.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That carries unanimously. Next item under new business is discussion of work session agenda. I believe Ethan has that set already for us.
Yeah, there was a draft agenda in your packet. You can see the main item of discussion is the update on the softball, baseball field improvements. Followed by, we did receive the per location bids on the camera and access control systems. So we're just gonna share that with you all, and then discussion of the 2022 budget and recent legislation, specifically the truth and taxation bill, and how that's gonna affect our budget process this year. And so those were the three main items we had for tomorrow's discussion, but just wanna make sure that there's nothing else that you all want to see or discuss before we finalize that and push it out.
Well, I'd like to see, as Eric mentioned, maybe we look at an alert system whenever there's an emergency or something in town. Maybe we just look at stepping forward and seeing what it's going to take to implement some sort of system.
And maybe that's something we can tie into also like the storm sirens and
Yeah.
all our emergency management system.
Okay.
Ethan, there is a possibility that I may not be here tomorrow.
Okay.
It's going to depend on how things progress tomorrow. So just to give you a heads up.
And at some point, I'd
You're
like
gonna
to
stack
discuss
more stuff on the agenda and then not show
requirement
up.
that the department heads have to live in town.
Okay.
I will do my best.
Did you add something?
Yes, to discuss department heads having to live in town within the city limits where employees are allowed to live within 2 miles, I believe, of town, but yes, department heads are supposed to be here. I'd like to discuss that,
Anything else, council?
especially since we're getting a new one.
Do you need any motions to set any of that, Ethan, or?
Nope.
Okay. All right, we're gonna go on to item 5 under new business that I added, and that's discussion of engine brake ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, I want to clarify, in the packet online shows a check that we need to approve. Is that?
Yes, I'm sorry, this, there is, it would be new business number 6 should have been the added item. I'm sorry, this is an old agenda that we put in front of you for this meeting that didn't have the check. There should be a check.
Okay.
Good catch,
I know
Councilmember
that
Wallace.
check before.
I apologize.
appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. So before we go on, I'll make a motion to approve check number 117496 to C Square Sign for $500 and approve ordinance number 2021-AP-07A.
Second.
Have the motion and the second to approve a check to C Squared Signs. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Congratulations, Ed, you got paid this week.
I'll take
Pay
it.
your gas bill.
Yeah, that's,
Okay,
enough,
back to
but
the
okay.
item I brought up and put on the agenda, and it's, I wanted to open a discussion up for an engine braking ordinance. Some of the pretense for this was I've received several complaints over the last few months. And I do know, and I'm not sure where it exists, we do have a no Jake brake sign somewhere in town, but it can't be enforced because we don't have an ordinance. And so either we put an ordinance forth or we remove the sign, per our city attorney's request. So my honest opinion on it, we're pretty flat. The 45-mile-an-hour reduced speed zones start well in advance of the community, and I don't want to make a bunch of farmers mad, but I don't think they really need to be using Jake brakes. We're not in Montana or Iowa where we're coming down off a hill to come into town. So what do you guys think?
I agree.
I think the number one step on this is gonna be on Ethan to determine where we're going to put the no Jake brake signs and enforcement, whether it be only on 801, is it gonna include 803? Are we doing 801 going north, going south as well as north?
I think the existing sign is on 801,
Yeah.
just as your city limit sign.
Yeah, it's basically,
I don't know if there's others, but that's the one that I noticed.
So I think about the residents even out here on 803. If we're gonna do it on 801, we probably need to do it on 803, especially with the new housing that's going on
South of 36.
for future. So I'd say let's lean on Josh to come up with a recommendation of where to post the signs.
I can tell you just from enforcement standpoint.
We don't wanna hear it now.
Do what? It's gonna be simpler to make an ordinance citywide. And then, because then you don't have to worry about, well, it's legal on this street but not on this street. So if you're gonna do a Jake brake ordinance, make it citywide, and then we'll have to get signs for basically every entrance coming into town.
I think that's what he's talking about, every
Yeah.
entrance coming into town.
Within city limits is what you're
Yes.
thinking?
Which, coming, like I said, it's not enforceable till they enter city limits, so, such as Halstead. That's not going to be enforced if they're a quarter mile outside of town, the residents will still hear it.
Right.
But if they're doing it before they hit that city limits sign.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do about it, so.
Sounds like
That's
some
something-
annexation.
Yeah. That's the solution.
Sorry, Ethan, I had to.
Well, I think what we need then is a plan from you and Ethan for the next meeting. Maybe an ordinance draft to look at and determine where those signs should be and
Brad's probably already got a boilerplate in his back pocket, so.
Normally, our policy requires that the chief of police prepares an extensive memorandum in support with justification.
Maybe a
There's
traffic study.
That's actually exactly right. And then a detailed map of exactly where the signs are to be
But
located.
it'll
et
be
cetera.
ready by next meeting.
And it is to be in color.
2022.
Really last 6 months.
consider it done. Go ahead and get started on the ordinance.
You need a motion on that?
No, I think.
General consensus.
Yeah, because
gives
we'll
us
prepare
staff
the ordinance.
direction.
Yep.
Okay. That's gonna finish up our agenda under new business. We do have one executive session tonight, and I'll entertain the motion for that as soon as Ethan has it written.
Should be a separate one for you too. Should be two.
What?
I think
There's
supposed
two, there's one behind the
Yeah,
there's
there's
two
two
on
sign
there.
sheets
There's
on
two
that
sign
for you
sheets on
guys.
there.
the second
Oh,
one
there's
is
two,
behind
that's
it.
right.
Two, yeah.
You're okay, Ed, because you don't have to sign that one. That's the one you don't have to sign.
There wasn't a second,
Underneath, but you don't have to sign it
okay, I
anyway.
got you.
Sorry.
But that's the one you shouldn't be signing.
All right, I move that the Halstead City Council recess into executive session for 30 minutes just to discuss pending litigation, consultation with, pursuant to the consultation with an attorney on matters that would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship exception, KSA 75, 439B2. Ask that in addition to the governing body, the following persons join the governing body in executive session: city manager, city council. The open meeting and governing body to reconvene in the city council chamber at 8:15 PM. Was it city attorney? City manager, city attorney, yeah.
So Brad gets to come with us?
Yes,
Gotta come with us.
The second it.
lawyer jokes out.
It's halfway out the door.
Have the motion and the second to enter into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. We will be moving to executive session, council. As soon as we sign off on the bills and payroll. Live since I don't have the. Okay, we are back from our executive session. Is there any action to be taken as a result of? Seeing no movement from the council, we'll move on to the next item, which is the report section of our agenda, and we'll start with the governing body. Tonight, I'll start with you, Denise.
Have nothing.
Sam?
I just want to comment how pretty the city of Halstead is looking with all the trees leafing out, the red buds and Bradford pears. And especially, as I mentioned earlier, down at Sixth and Main, the flowers on that corner just really make Halstead look like a nice place to visit or live, or both.
It is looking good. I've got some things I want to say, but I'm gonna wait till the end. Mike?
No, sir.
George?
Pass.
Ed? Okay, now it's my turn. I'd like to congratulate the Halstead High School cheerleading team for such a successful fundraiser. And I would like to let them know that, my sprinklers are now on a motion sensor, as my yard has been forked at least twice so far. So, congratulations on your fundraiser. I hope it continues to be successful. And now we will move on to the, manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City and departmental activities have been as follows. Police report 65 calls for service, 34 traffic stops, and 9 criminal cases. Staff continue to gather information on the car and body camera upgrades and are awaiting delivery of their new service weapons. Fire report 24 calls for service, 15 being EMS assists, and 5 grass fire-related calls. Staff are conducting an in-house hazardous materials course during April, hosted the KU Skills Trailer, which had students from surrounding communities, and then Division Chief Hoffman recently attended the annual Kansas State Firefighters Association Conference. EMS reports 66 calls for service, bringing their yearly total to 172 calls. Approximately 67% of those calls have been in the Halstead original response area, and the other 33% have been in Sedgwick. Staff continue work on State Board of EMS licensing updates, but EMS unit inspection and licensing have been completed. Staff also assisted in completion of the new storm siren project. Parks and Recreation report that the softball field items that had been brought to the governing body's attention have been taken care of, although some of those items are only temporary fixes in nature. But all those repairs were completed before the first Halstead High School game. Recreation soccer has started and Williams Park is being utilized for that. Goals and portable restroom will remain on site through the season, which is about a month. And then pool preparation continues for this coming summer with equipment and chemicals being ordered. Public Works responded to a water main break at 10th and Leslie Lane and have also repaired a water and gas service. Staff assisted Wedgewood Parks and Recreation and the Police Department with various projects the last couple of weeks. Repairs to the cable and posts along the flood control levee, cleaning out the pads under the swinging bridge, pothole patching, and grading of streets and alley, and additional rock being put on 10th Street were also projects that Public Works spent time on. Additionally, 5 building inspections, 3 burials, 14 locates, and meter reading were completed by staff. Onboarding and training continues for the 4 new hires. 2 of those are in Public Works and 2 are in Administration and Finance. Carlos Reed is joining the city as the Director of Administrative Services / City Clerk, so you will continue to see him attend these meetings. Carlos has had previous experience as a financial officer for various nonprofits, and we're happy to put that experience to good use here with us. Harvey County Commission did approve a resolution determining facts to approve the annexation of Wedgewood Golf Course into the city limits by a 2-to-1 vote. Staff will be bringing an ordinance forward in subsequent meetings to finalize that process. Administrative staff have been very busy as of late, assisting customers with utility billing questions and writing agreements for the build-out gas usage from February. We appreciate everyone's patience and understanding as we continue to work and guide people through this process. Currently, we are looking at staying late one evening this week and then a couple of nights next week to assist those who normally are not able to make it in from 8 to 5 due to work schedules. We're trying to work with everyone as much as we can, get them those forms electronically if they need it, but we do want staff involved to make sure that the amounts are correct as far as putting those plans in, because once we get them locked in, we're not sure of our ability to change them going forward. So we are asking, for staff to also sign off on those with the utility customers. The city did unfortunately receive a denial for its grant request to offset repairs to the levee from the last high water event in 2019. I will be following up on that determination to see if there's a possibility of reconsideration based on some of the reasons they listed for denial. But we were also prepared that that project might not be approved, and it did have the funds in our capital improvement project to handle those repairs without the reimbursement from the grant. Staff will also be meeting and assisting with Lochner tomorrow for audits of the current sidewalk state and routes to school, specifically around the school area. Administrative staff continue working on catching up monthly balancing, preparing for the budget, and attending various meetings as needed for other city projects. And that is all I have unless there's any questions.
Excellent.
Anybody have any questions for Ethan?
No, Carlos, welcome to the team.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Yeah,
welcome.
welcome,
I
Carlos.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, if there's nothing else, that concludes our agenda this evening, and I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, council. Thank you, Halstead.